Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a really fascinating look at those profound botanical micro-adventures that are just hiding right inside our everyday lives. We're actually pulling our insights directly from a delightful, highly detailed journal entry by a writer named Ang. Published back in August of 2026, this piece is part of a massive ongoing series. It's specifically part 973, titled Notes on Gardening: The Unexpected Joy of Growing Honey Melon. Honestly, it's just amazing how much insight we can extract from a single, beautifully documented moment in a backyard garden, and I am absolutely thrilled to break down this journey of germination with you today. Okay, let's dive into this by asking the very question Ang uses to hook the reader. Do you know why I have a soft spot for seed germination? It's such a wonderful, reflective question, isn't it? It immediately draws us right into a deeply personal fascination with the very beginning of plant life. Ang isn't just growing food here. There's this deeply rooted emotional connection to the whole process of coaxing life out of a tiny little seed. This quote really sets the stage for a story that isn't just about agriculture, but about the sheer, unexpected joy you can find in the tiniest of horticultural hobbies.
Section 1. The Joy of Germination. Finding satisfaction in uniform growth.
So when Ang reflects on having that soft spot for germination, the source text points to a few very specific, highly visual rewards that beginner gardeners and hobbyists get to experience. First up is the act of watching all the seedlings grow at the exact same time. There's a simple, almost zen-like satisfaction in witnessing life just spring up in complete unison. And, that leads perfectly into the second point: uniform development. Nature is so often chaotic, but in these little seedling trays there's this beautiful, synchronized uniformity. And finally, all of this translates to incredibly high personal satisfaction. For someone doing this purely for personal enjoyment, watching that perfectly matched row of green sprouts pushing through the soil is just an immense, quiet victory.
Section 2. The Accessible Honey Melon. The Ultimate Gateway Plant.
The botanical star of our explainer today is cucumis-melo, which is pretty much universally known as the honey melon. Ang explicitly notes that if you're exploring seed germination purely as a hobbyist or a beginner, the melon is probably one of the absolute most affordable plant species you can possibly start with. I mean, it completely democratizes the gardening experience. You don't need expensive starter kits or rare imported seeds. You just need to appreciate the potential hiding inside a common, delicious piece of fruit.
And this brilliantly illustrates the incredibly low barrier to entry. Just a half slice. According to Ang's journal, the entire cost of this highly rewarding hobby was literally nothing more than a half slice of a honey melon. Think about the economy of that for a second. You get a sweet snack, and the literal byproduct, the seeds which you would normally just toss in the compost or the trash, becomes the foundation for a deeply rewarding, highly uniform, synchronized garden project. The barrier to entry here is wonderfully, astonishingly low.
Now, let's see how this builds into Ang's personal gardening preferences. Interestingly enough, Ang actually has a strong fondness for flowering plants, and because of this distinct preference, our author postponed exploring the cucumis-melo species for what is poetically described as all these moons. It's a classic case of hobbyist tunnel vision, right? Just sticking to what you know and love. But the eventual shift to trying this humble melon yielded a massive, completely unexpected payoff in personal satisfaction. It proves that stepping outside our botanical comfort zones can be immensely rewarding.
Section 3. The Threat of Etiolation. The Ticking Clock of Transplanting.
So, the crucial point is understanding the hard botanical science of what actually happens next. Ang writes about a really pressing chore, dealing with the sprouted seedlings that are still sitting in their original trays. If left there, they face the very real threat of etiolation. Basically, this results in elongated stems that lead to leggy, weak growth. It happens specifically when sprouted seedlings are left in their confined trays for entirely too long, stretching desperately for resources. It's a literal ticking clock. That beautiful, uniform growth we celebrated earlier will quickly turn frail and vulnerable if action isn't taken immediately.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the clear, actionable procedure outlined to save these plants. These are Ang's immediate gardening tasks. Step 1 is complete: sprout the seedlings. But Step 2 is the urgent rescue mission: transplant them to the unused seedling trays waiting out on the backyard balcony. By executing Step 2, Ang achieves Step 3, avoiding that weak, leggy, etiolated growth. It really highlights the constant, attentive rhythm required in gardening. Sure, you get to enjoy the synchronized sprouting, but then you must quickly pivot to the logistical work of transplanting to ensure their survival.
Section 4. Next grocery run adventure. Turning chores into seed safaris.
We're going to wrap up this explainer with a wonderful, thought-provoking question right from the end of Ang's journal entry. I wonder what other plant species I can find and explore on my next grocery runs. This small, highly successful backyard project out on the balcony completely reframes a mundane, everyday task. The local supermarket is no longer just a place to buy food. It's a landscape of affordable, accessible gardening adventures just waiting to be discovered. So take a page out of Ang's notebook. The next time you're walking down the produce aisle, ask yourself that very same question. What hidden botanical joy might you bring home for the cost of a simple half slice? Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, and happy exploring.